Welcome to the end of the world, survivors. You're tuned into the last voice on the airwaves, Harper, or as I've come to call myself, DJ Clueless, broadcasting from a radio station that still hums with life. I'm no longer alone, but winter is hard and the undead still roam outside. This is where we fight back. I'll be your guide through the madness, sharing survival tips, locations of safe havens, and the occasional existential crisis. The world's gone dark, and the dead outnumber the living, but there are some of us ready to fight back and to rebuild some of what we've lost. The only real question is, what's next? Stay tuned to Zombie Apocalypse Survivor Radio. Stick around if you're still alive. Hello, fellow survivors, and welcome to the Zombie Apocalypse Traveling Survivor Radio. I have left the station. We are going to the plant, which is in Missouri, not quite to Columbia. A little more rural than Columbia, but nearby. Well, 60 miles nearby-ish, from what I am told. And we started off with a group of 10 people. We ended up choosing horses over bicycles because Malcolm sent his people with a list of things that he once found. So several, we had many horses. So there were a couple of wagons and that sort of thing. So we are going the long way around because they have mapped out where horse barns are that aren't being in use. But also, Malcolm wants us to basically, anytime we see any store that might have shoes, he wants us to go in and take all of the shoes. He has other people out who are doing the same thing with clothing. That way, when people arrive at the plant, they have clothes and shoes to choose from. Because, the first thing anybody has to do is do a naked check to make sure you aren't bitten. So having clothes at the ready seemed like a good plan for him. Also, one of the things Malcolm was saying is everybody needs shoes. Does anybody know how to make shoes? And that seems to be the question Malcolm has for a lot of things. Everybody needs clothes. How many people know how to make clothes? There are a lot of kids around. Do we have any teachers? That sort of thing. So we were tasked with shoes, and because we had the horses, we were tasked with trying to find horse gear. Because apparently there aren't a whole lot of manufacturers of horse gear, so Malcolm wants us to buy up. I am still in the mindset of before. He wants us to find as much as we can in the way of supplies on that front. So the thing is, saddles and all of that stuff can be pretty heavy. So we're not the only ones looking. Pretty much anybody who has a horse in one of their lightweight, sturdy wagons, because they have built the wagons, has a list of different supplies and stuff. And, I will be taking some of this home to my people, which I told Malcolm's people, and they seemed like they were aware that would happen. So anyway, it's been really fun. One of the people who came, her name is Roxana Ramirez, and everybody calls her Rocky. Like dun 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 dun. The Rocky boxer guy from the movies. Yeah, as opposed to she's got a Rocky personality. It's more she's just super good fighter. Super good fighter. She actually uses a compound bow, is what she called it, for zombie killing because bows are quiet. And apparently, she was very into archery before, which is probably how she got her Rocky name because she was a champion archer. Is that what archer? Yeah, I'm gonna go with archer. Um, so she's been just magnificent. But she also has a lot of experience with horses and cattle and that sort of thing. Raised on a farm, and not like raised on a farm like back in the day, like mom and pa had their own little farm, like raised on one of the big farms, like factory kind of farms. She said that they were ethical, but that it was a huge operation. And I learned that if I spot any black and white cows out in the wild, to collect them up because black and white cows are the dairy cows. And Rocky is pretty convinced that after a generation or two, dairy cows won't require human assistance. But like one of the first things she did during the zombie apocalypse is she knew where a lot of the different dairy farms were. And so anybody she knew with dairy farms, she checked on them to make sure that the cows were okay. And she did not tell me any of the horror stories of the cows not being okay. But with milk cows and the way we factory farmed them, uh, they need humans to take their milk. And if they don't, bad things happen to the cows. So she made sure that there were people taking care of the cows, even if that meant some of them didn't survive, but meat was had. But her main goal was to take care of the cows and to transition them out of the factory farm model to where they could have calves. The calves drink the milk, and then, like normal, they stop producing. That kind of thing. So that was her whole goal. So it was not surprising at all that when our second or third stop of the day, we found some dairy cows. And there were two people taking care of more cows than I could count. And they looked exhausted and just completely, totally fried. And, Rocky also discovered that in addition to dairy cows, they had a lot of horses. A lot. So we stayed there the first night. And, you know, other than my bottom and my bones hurting from being on a horse all day, because I didn't want to ride in one of the wagons, I preferred to be on my own horse. I mean, I was on my own horse. I took Blueberry because Blueberry and I get along. So yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that. I did take my own horse because if you have a horse that you have bonded well with, it's a little bit easier, or at least that's what Rocky says. I am not a horse expert, so we stayed there the first night. We took care of things. Or at least helped them take care of things because we had 10 people. They had like 2. They radioed Malcolm and talked to him, and he told Rocky and a few of the other people to stay there. So he actually asked Rocky, how many people would it take to keep these cows alive? And by the way, can you transport any of that milk this way? And that's one of the things I like about Malcolm is he does not let opportunity go to waste. He does not look a gift cow or a gift cow farm in the mouth. So we actually stayed there and talked to this older couple. They were in their 60s, and they had very good fencing, and that's a large part of what kept them safe. But they're far enough outside of Columbia, Missouri, that they're actually in a not very densely populated space. They have had hordes come through, but hordes aren't interested in cows. The zombies don't have interest in livestock. That is part of why we decided to take horses. There are a lot of wild horses now. Rocky says that there's a bunch of horse girls out there. I don't know why they're girls instead of women, but she called them horse girls. And that quite a few of them, when the zombie apocalypse was coming down, did what they could so that the horses would be able to roam on their own. Unlike cows, horses apparently can survive on their own in the wild. It's a little bit better if they're taken care of, kind of like any creature if you have a veterinarian and all that stuff. But rather than them be penned up, there were a lot of horse girls who just went around and let the horses go free. And this wasn't done like in the early days. Like, it wasn't like Rocky's friends heard about the UK having zombies and then just went out and madly released horses. It was apparently something that they did, the zombie apocalypse started on the east and west coast and moved inward, and then somehow sprang up in Chicago, which really took out the Midwest. So basically, as places were evacuated, the horse girls evacuated the horses. If they heard about an evacuation coming up or anything like that, they went out and took care of those horses. And so we have a bunch of wild horses now, or maybe not totally wild, but mostly wild at this point, horses. And there have been a lot of horse collection going on. People on farms stayed to take care of their animals, is what Rocky has been saying, at least the people that they're running into in Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, and Indiana. She says they haven't really gone further afield than that, because Malcolm's trying to map the area with settlements and farms and supplies. And like with this trip, the horse barns were mapped out so that we would have places to take the horses. Because they've done this trip a bajillion times, and we didn't, we have to cross the river. So we actually crossed the river around Cape Girardeau. And I was frankly nervous. People who aren't from the area don't realize it, but Cape's pretty big. Cape has a decent size population. So I would have preferred crossing at Chester, but apparently there was a horde moving near Chester. So that's Chester, Illinois, home of Popeye. So we crossed the river at Cape Girardeau, and then kind of moved quite rapidly to get out of that area and to go northwest. And, we didn't really see a whole lot of zombies in Cape. Now, zombies aren't attracted to the sound of hoofbeats because, again, there are a lot of horses running around. And, wild animals are kind of roaming everywhere now. So we just, when we went through Cape, silent. Nobody talked, nobody sang, we said nothing. We just silently moved through at a pretty rapid clip. Rocky had to take out a couple as we were getting clear of the city proper, but she had to shoot two, and she did it from the back of a horse. It wasn't a lot. And one of the things that Malcolm has intel on is different hordes from different cities apparently are grouping up and turning into mega hordes. which is, not the news you want, but we aren't surprised. One of the things that the zombie apocalypse has really shown is humans are herd animals. Um, and as herd animals, I think even as zombies, we feel better when we're in groups. Or, it's just easier for a group of zombies to kill a bunch of people, is the other part of that. So, Rocky has basically taken over this cow farm. She told Malcolm she needs about 20 more people, which has him panicked because, the plant has some people, but he can't spare 20. So he is calling all the other settlements and seeing how many people are interested in helping out with dairy cow production. And more than likely, the cattle's going to be spread out among certain settlements that can take it. Now, the problem is, without trucks to transport the cattle, nobody knows how logistically we're going to do this. I guess we will have cowboys doing cattle drives again. But, do you even do cattle drives with dairy cows? There's so much I don't know, guys. That's why I'm DJ Clueless. There is so much about the details of the world I just don't know. But I'm learning a lot. I am. And I learned a lot about cows. And thank God, this was one of the farms that was one of the first to put in solar power because they have automatic milkers. It's a machine you hook up onto the cow and then that takes the milk. And these poor people, they've been trying so hard to keep these cows alive. And I should quit calling them poor people. It's Harlan and his wife, Mel. I think short for Melanie, but maybe Melody. I couldn't understand exactly what they were saying. But Harlan and Mel stayed and basically have been working themselves pretty hard taking care of the cows. And, they aren't without food, but they were happy to have some food that they aren't producing. We did not bring food to cook because some of the places we were staying, we would have to cook outside. And the smell of cooking food does attract zombies. Now, when we cook inside, even with a window open and a screen open, it doesn't attract zombies. But for some reason, cooking outside does. So we brought a lot of freeze-dried type foods where you just add water. Quite a few MREs as well. So we've had a lot of food that was very lightweight that we could share with them. So we ate pretty well. I had milk for the first time and I don't know how long. And you know how when you're really, really thirsty and you drink water and it tastes almost sweet? This is how the milk tasted. The milk tasted so good. I have never had milk so good. And I did not realize that milk was so sweet. Or at least it tasted that way to me. So I very much enjoyed our stop there. One of the things that we did do is we left 4 people and we took half the horses. Because the horses were not getting as much attention as they needed. And Malcolm wants horses. Malcolm wants everything. He wants some electrical engineers to help with turning cars into electric vehicles, or I think he even floated the idea of steam powered. I have no idea how any of that works because I'm DJ Clueless. But he wants us to find veterinarians. He wants us to find doctors. He wants us to find things that will make it easier for him to take care of his people, and that makes sense to me. So I was sad to say goodbye to Rocky because I hung out with her for the first part of the trip, or at least the first couple days. But, her whole thing was taking care of livestock. And then we found a huge bunch of livestock. And I kind of asked them, okay, if you guys have mapped this out, why haven't you gone here before? And um, basically, what they have mapped out, they're trying to expand, and this was just on the outer edge of what they had mapped out. And really, if Rocky hadn't seen a black and white cow just kind of out in a field, we never would have deviated and gone there. But she saw a black and white cow and knew what that meant. And so we did. We did. I'm going to apologize for the sound quality. I am talking on an iPhone leaving a voice memo, which isn't something I thought I would ever do again. But what Malcolm said is being out on the road is different from being in a stationary place. And people would want to know, like, what we are experiencing, what we're seeing. And his thought was power up one of the phones, because we all still had them on us. Like, it's weird that we kept them, but we did. A lot of people, I think, kept them for pictures. A lot of people that showed up at the station were there because we had solar power. For practical reasons, but so many wanted to power up their phones just so they could look at the pictures of the lost. And so what Malcolm said is power up the phone, put it in airplane mode, because otherwise it's going to be constantly searching for a signal and its battery is going to drain really fast. Turn it on to record what's going on. And he did say to probably record every single day, which I may or may not do. We'll see how busy the days are. Because I like Malcolm and I want to help him out, but fundamentally I'm the boss of me. However, it is kind of nice to keep a record of what's going on. And I find that that's easier for me to do when I talk than it is, to keep a diary or something like that. So yeah, but everybody else is asleep. I am, of course, this is the middle of the night where I have woken up, because waking up in the middle of the night is just what I do now. So I've woken up for a couple of hours. I walked around the perimeter of the place. Holy crap, it's cold out, guys. It was cold and just miserable, but I still did it. Like, it's a compulsion now. I can't not. Said hi to some of the cows, made sure Blueberry was doing okay, came back in, and thought I would go ahead and record. We're taking a long, not quite serpentine route to the plant, but there are several designations. Like, there's one place that we're going just because they sell shoes, and more than likely, if we fill a wagon with shoes, more people will split off and just head straight back to the plant in a much more straightforward fashion. And one of the things Vince told me is that they do this quite a lot, where if they find a cache of something that they're wanting, like a cache of shoes in this case, they'll fill up what they have and send it to the plant, and the plant will send people back to get the rest. So tomorrow, that's the plan. We are looking for, I think it's a shoe carnival, but I'm not, it might just be shoes. I don't know if it's a chain or not, but apparently it hasn't been looted. It looked intact. They didn't have time to check it out on the way to me, because, then they'd just be dropping a bunch of shoes off at the station, which the station would be cool with, but Malcolm wanted the shoes for the plant. But like, okay, I'm not writing down in a diary like everything we're doing, but I am taking copious notes about what we should be doing at the station. I will have ideas for Queenie and Priya. And hopefully I will be able to bring back some shoes. Just, picking stuff up on the return trip. So far, I haven't needed to even worry about Robert's Rules of Chaos. We haven't gone past any place where the doors aren't clearly marked. Now, a lot of that is Malcolm's people. Apparently had taken this route before, and so they sometimes clear as they go, hey, we need to spend the night somewhere. We'll clear this house out so we can, kind of thing. Or check to see if it's clear. So There were some houses with a big Z on the front door and some with a C for clear, or okay, as in it's okay to go in here. So yeah, leaving a last meal hasn't been necessary because most of the places we've gone have had food, you know. So far haven't needed to really implement those rules, but we're like a day and a half out here, so um, Priya and Queenie were not terribly happy about me going, but did want me to find out more about my abilities. The whole reason I'm going to Malcolm's is so they can test my abilities and hopefully train me. And Malcolm's been doing this a lot. He's been training a lot of people. Apparently, there are quite a few people who have dreams and have some extra abilities going on, and that's pretty cool. I don't like that we're living in the zombie apocalypse. I'm not a big fan of our current reality, but it feels like there's enough good stuff happening to give us survivors a fighting chance. So that is to the good. And I really, really enjoyed finding out that there were so many people out there thinking about things I didn't. It never would have occurred to me to set horses free. It never would have occurred to me to check on dairy cows. These are things that are, beyond my area of expertise, beyond my ken and my Barbie too. Um, so, so yeah, I am learning a lot, and I guess that's good. I guess that's good. And I've met a lot of people, and that is absolutely good. It is so nice to be around people. And, back in the world, I was an introvert, and I never really thought that the need for people would be this strong. But here I am, and it sure is. It sure is. So anyway, Rocky said that once they figure out what they're doing with the dairy cows, she will come back to the plant or to the station, um, and teach people how to do bow hunting, basically. Um, Nobody really thinks that we're going to need to do like the hunting of animals. So the bow hunting is more for the hunting of zombies. Oh, one other thing is there is a group of men, I think women too, but mostly men, who have called themselves pikers, and they just go around killing zombies. It's just what they do. And they have various methods of this. Um, so they have been wandering around this area for a while. Apparently, they kind of were refugees outside of Chicago, banded together after heavy losses, and now they just kind of go various places and shoot things. Their favorite thing is to do what I did, which is start a fire, play some music, get up on a roof, and just take care of whatever comes. So they are currently in Nebraska. Apparently, a not terribly large horde, only a couple hundred, is a horde they're hunting, which I didn't even know people would actively hunt hordes. The Z terror, where you get more than 5 in one place, and you spend several seconds just basically crapping yourself in fear, and to willingly seek out hundreds of them seems anathema to me. And apparently, this group has inspired other groups of pikers. So we have people rebuilding, we have people going out and killing zombies, and it all just makes me feel really hopeful. And I know I keep saying survive, 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 but the reason why is because of this. We are rebuilding. We are finding people who make it their job to take out zombies. Things aren't going bad. So please, I apologize for the sound quality of this broadcast, but I am recording with an iPhone instead of my normal audio setup. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for always listening to me. And if you are out there and you are alone, survive, survive, survive. One of the things I'm going to ask Malcolm for is a list of places that are settlements people can go, and if I can start broadcasting those. So if you're alone, it won't be for long. Survive. Harper out. This is Harper signing off for now. Remember, the world is still turning, even if it feels like we're standing still. Survive, adapt, endure. As the dust settles, we are rising again. We are rebuilding from the ashes. Until then, keep moving, keep fighting, and whatever you do, survive.